is LBC. From Global, leading Britain's conversation. Mystery Hour with James O'Brien.
3 minutes after 12 is the time. Mystery Hour is upon us. Your weekly opportunity to achieve the sort of satisfaction not ordinarily available anywhere else on your radio dial. In other words, you've got a question bubbling away in the back of your brain. You know that there must be an answer to it. Possibly you could find out for yourself. Possibly you've tried and failed to find out for yourself. But it's worth taking a punt on somebody else currently listening to the Great British Radio Show, knowing the answer to your question. So you ring in with the question. You sit back, you put your feet up, possibly light a large cigar. Actually, no, that's not very healthy. Possibly make yourself a spinach smoothie and wait to see whether anybody else listening, or indeed your humble presenter, can provide you with the satisfaction that you crave. The number you need, as ever, on this programme, and indeed this entire radio station, is 0345 6060 973. There aren't really any rules, except that you can't look stuff up and then ring in with it as an answer, because that would make a complete mockery of the whole shebang. Try not to be boring. So I era the beholder, and as I get older, I'm getting more boring. So the motoring questions that I used to have a complete moratorium on have begun to sort of sneak up on me. But generally speaking, motoring questions are not welcome, generally speaking. Repetition, again, as I get older, I find my short-term memory falling to pieces, so I can't even remember what I spoke about in the first hour of the programme, never mind the questions that we answered on Mystery Hour 2 hours ago. So that we'll keep an eye on. I usually issue a guarantee that you will have at least one laugh out loud moment between now and 1 o'clock. I'm happy to leave that one on the statute book. And similarly, I can guarantee that you will know more by 1 o'clock today than you do now. Mystery Hour is not like a Boris Johnson speech. By 1 o'clock today, you will actually know more than you do now. Rather than anybody who endured the latest so-called levelling up speech in its entirety, it's quite possible you ended up knowing less about what it was he was speaking about than you did before he started speaking. It might not be knowledge that you're particularly grateful for. It might not even be knowledge that you can remember by 1:15, but it will be there, perhaps briefly, perhaps pointlessly, but most definitely. And if you hear me say the number, 0345 6060 973, it means that there is currently a phone line free. OK? Which is quite rare on this one. Deborah is in Swanscombe to kick things off. Deborah, question or answer?
It's a question. Good afternoon.
Carry on. Hello.
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 Hello, Roger.
Hello, Roger.
You can hear me. Stop it. Stop messing about with me, Deborah. Get on with the programme. You're messing it up for everybody. Get on with it.
Surprise, surprise. My question is about that name, Roger.
I know it is.
Why do they say... I knew that. I got that. Why do they say aeroplanes,
yes.
Roger, over and out, especially like the wars and airplanes now? Why? The word Roger.
Roger. Roger means right you are, doesn't it? Or something like that.
Well, I don't know, because I thought it was like Roger and out, but then sometimes they say it when they start. They go, Roger.
Funnily enough, my colleague EJ, who is a brilliant journalist, currently in charge of much of the online offering regarding LBC, and he's also some days the poor fella that's charged with clipping up my burblings and turning them into viral phenomena. He's ex-RAF, and sometimes when I say to him, "Oh, maybe we should clip up that bit" or something like that, he replies RGR, which I presume is short for Roger. So he will know. Yes. He will know. Yes. If no one else rings in with an answer, I'll find out from EJ. I'll interrupt his toiling at the coalface of our online presence on LBC, and I'll get him. So I can definitely get you an answer. We'll just have to wait and see where it comes from.
I bet he's biting his lip now because he wants to tell you.
I know. I bet he can't wait. I bet he can't. But he's hoping no one rings in. This could be his 15 minutes of fame, Deborah. We shall see. We shall see what happens. Roger and out, Deborah.
Roger and out.
I don't think I ever actually say Roger and out. I think that might be a film. Well, anyway, I've got no clue. So hopefully we will find out. Roland is in Detroit. Roland, welcome. Question or answer?
How are you? It's a question. I'm actually in Palms in Michigan, 2 hours north of Detroit.
Right. I beg your pardon. We shall adjust the record accordingly. Thank you, Roland.
So I want to know why. Well, back in the 80s, you could fly on a plane and you could use something called a sky phone. You would put your credit card in and you would take the phone to your seat and you could make a call. It was very expensive, but it was possible. I took a flight just this weekend and it's not possible to make a phone call from the flight anymore. And I just wonder why. I paid $40 to upgrade my Wi-Fi and I tried to make a call via WhatsApp. I was successful. And then the flight attendant came running over and told me this was not allowed.
Yeah. No. So what is the question? What happened to Sky phones, or why can't I use my mobile on a plane?
Phones?
What happened to...
Where are Sky phones?
They were very expensive, weren't they? Were you a bit of a yuppie, Roland? Were you a yuppie in the 80s?
No, I needed to get hold of my ground crew, make sure they were picking me up.
So you were a massive yuppie. No one has a ground crew. Were you a rock star?
No. We've spoken before, James. Strawberry Sunday.
Yes, of course we have. Sorry, mate. You ground crew when you were a massive rave organiser down in Vauxhall.
Yeah.
What happened to Sky phones? I shall find out for you.
What happened to Sky phones?
What happened to Sky phones? You're on. If you know what happened to Sky phones, 03456060973 is the number to call. I love the idea of Roland getting up in Palms, Michigan and giving us a ring before he goes to work. 9 minutes after 12 is the time. Strawberry Sunday is a much missed rave venue. Keith, by the way, is back DJing Fridays, and so he's got a Friday gig now. Have you? Is that right? So Keith is back in Keith and his Wheels of Steel. He doesn't need any plugs from me at the moment because of social distancing. But when things get back to normal and he's trying to pile him onto the dance floor, I may. Will you do autographs, Keith? If people come down to the selfies as well when the social distancing thing is back in place. Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Keith. 9 minutes after 12 is the time. So. I haven't got any paper with me today. So we've got the Sky phones and Roger, two kind of aviation-based questions there by complete coincidence. George is in Exeter. George, question or answer?
It's a question, James.
Carry on.
Well, you know how the Queen doesn't vote in elections by convention?
Yes.
And that extends to her immediate family.
Does it?
So my question is, who's the closest relative of the Queen that usually votes?
Probably a cousin, would it be? I mean, we don't know, do we? So would the siblings vote? Would the? I mean, Princess Margaret's no longer with us, but I don't know. Where do you get the convention that other family members don't do it from?
Well, they're always quite neutral, aren't they?
Yeah, you've never seen them coming out of a polling station, have you, or anything like that? Yeah, all right. So, I mean, what's the highest person in the line of succession? Maybe is better than doing it on
just sort of family.
Yeah, they may be the same. Actually, I don't really understand it all clearly enough. But who is the highest person in the line of succession that is known to have voted or that is allowed to vote? Because if it's a convention, they're all allowed to vote.
Convention, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it was protected, I think, under European human rights law that she's actually allowed to.
Yes, of course. But she chooses not to. So how far down the line of succession do you go before you can find someone that we know has voted? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I like that a lot. I don't know if we'll get there, but I mean, we need some sort of royal watcher. But you never know. 12:11 is the time. Thank you for that, George. Ben is in Oldham. Ben, question or answer?
James, it's a question. Good morning.
Carry on. Good morning to you.
Dogs love hanging their heads out of the window when they're in a car.
Did you ring in last week?
I did indeed, and I didn't get through.
Oh, okay. I just had deja vu. You must have been on the screen last week, Ben, because I remember seeing that question, but you didn't actually get on the radio. I told you my memory was falling to pieces in my old age.
I was on the screen, and someone asked a dog-based question just before me.
So near and yet so far.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Because we're only going to take one dog-based question. We only take one figure-of-speech-based question. We try and keep it, a little bit lively. Go on then. Why do dogs like sticking their head out of car windows?
Every time I see a dog in a car, they're hanging their head out the window, and they absolutely love it, and I don't know why.
And if you blow in a dog's face, I think they don't like it, actually. Oddly.
No, they're not sure, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. I think we may have done this before back in the day, because I remember thinking that last week, but I couldn't remember the answer, which means you're perfectly qualified and indeed entitled to ask. So dogs and car windows. It's something to do with, I don't know what it is, but they do kind of, there's a bloke on Twitter, it's my life, honestly, who is sitting on his patio with a leaf blower. I don't know if you've seen it. And for reasons I haven't got to the bottom of, because I haven't watched it with the sound on yet, he films himself blowing his leaf blower into his mouth, so his cheeks go all out like a chipmunk, or like a hamster full of food, and his cheeks go like this. And he's on the patio. I don't know if anyone else has seen this. And his wife sort of is walking through the sitting room on the other side of the patio doors, and she stops. And she watches him, and she's there for about 2 minutes, and he's doing this thing with a leaf blower, like getting his cheeks to be all inflated and expanded and wobbling his face around and a bit like that. And he's filming himself doing it, not knowing that his wife behind him in the patio door. So it's built up like a Hitchcock film. The dramatic tension is almost unbearable. And he's watching it, and she's watching him with a look of utter disapproval, close to disgust on her face. And then he finishes.
I think that.
Go on.
I think that's a bit of a bloke thing that would entertain most people.
I think you might be right, but I'm wondering whether it applies to dogs. No, I'm with you. We should find out, because there may be some pleasure involved in that kind of stretching of the skin, or I don't know. But it ends with him turning around, noticing her, and she just shakes her head and walks away in a way that I suspect only married men will recognise. Thank you, Ben. So, Roger, Sky Phones, Royal Family voting, and dogs sticking their heads out of cars. What was the last one? I can't read my own writing. It will come to me in a moment. Jason's in Richmond, in North Yorkshire. Jason, question or answer?
It's an answer.
Carry on.
It's with regards to the word Roger.
Oh, yes.
Communicating.
Oh, yes.
So Roger is used, so it's not phonetically confused with any other phonetic word. However, Roger means received and understood. So you would say Roger out, which would mean you've received, understood, and you're not receiving any further messages. People often say over and out, but over means that you're expecting another message. Out means end of message. So Roger out means I've received and understood, no further communications required.
Why can't you say received and understood?
It shortens the messages. So if you think about you're talking on a radio circuit with lots of aeroplanes and lots of ships and things like that, is air time is precious. So by saying Roger out means you've received and understood, but it's a very short way of saying it.
Qualifications?
I'm an ex-Royal Navy tactical communicator.
I can't say much fairer than that. I nearly called you Roger then. You can't say much fairer than that, Jason. Do we know why they happened upon the word Roger? Because it's not an acronym, is it? Received and understood would be RAU.
Yeah, I think what they did is when they would say Roger received and understood, they would write the word R. But if you said the word Romeo, it could be used as any other signal or message. So they substitute with the word Roger, and I think Roger was an old American phonetic alphabet that was available.
Oh, lovely stuff. Great answer. How many Royal Navy tactical communicators are there roughly at any one time?
There isn't any left at the moment. Unfortunately, the moving on of modern communications removed what was my branch. So I was originally known as a bunting. So when you see the old films of flags going up and flashing lights at sea and things like that, that was my old branch. But as things have moved on, we were phased out, unfortunately.
So you are. I mean, you could be the last of the line. There might not even be many left now. I don't believe there's any left. I might be wrong, but I think they've morphed into other branches. So there's people who have joined up in my role, but they've actually morphed into other branches of communications and other branches of the Royal Navy. I tell you what, I think you've earned one. I think you've earned a Ray Liotta, mate, which is the highest accolade I can bestow upon someone. I'm not going to spoil it by asking roughly how many tactical communications operatives there were in place during your heyday, during your pomp, because they're not here and you are, so accept this with our regards.
I'm Ray Liotta, and you're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. If you build it, they will come.
They will. And Jason did. Thanks, Jason. Top work, mate.
No worries. Take care. All the best now.
And you. Look after yourself. And, of course, now EJ, toiling away up there, turning my clips into viral gold, has to wait another week to make his Mystery Hour debut. See, the Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away.
Mystery Hour on LBC with James O'Brien.
It is 20 minutes after 12. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC, where Mystery Hour continues. I'll run through the questions, still in search of answers shortly. But before that, Josh is in Coulsdon. Josh, question or answer?
I've got a question for you, James. Good afternoon as well.
Carry on.
In England, banknotes are different sizes and have braille on them for blind people. In the US,
do they?
Yeah, if you fill the bobbly bit, that's the braille for the and they're different sizes. If you look at a £5 and a £50 note,
I know they're different sizes, Josh. I'm not completely stupid. I'd never clocked the braille before, but you live and learn. Yeah, go on.
Same with the old notes and the new plastic ones, both are braille. Okay. But in America, the dollar bill, all up to the $100, all the same size, no braille, no feely rough bits.
Yeah.
How would the blind person know?
I mean, you probably answered your own question. It probably comes down to trust, doesn't it?
I assume so.
Is there, yeah, so American bills are all the same size, and they don't have any raised
No raised bits
on them. So if you are blind, then how do you know what you've got in your pocket or your hand? More obviously, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's a great question. I find out for you. There's a vague bell ringing. I don't think it's a mystery hour bell. It might be a movie or something like that. Someone will know. But anyway, it's a good question, and we shall find out for you. So, dollar bills, any denomination in America, they're all exactly the same size. So how would someone who can't see know what they had in their hands? In the UK, you have not only different size notes according to denomination, but also braille on the actual notes themselves. Other questions looking for answers. What happened to Sky phones from the 1980s? When Roland was an international club promoter, he would regularly use a Sky phone in order to make sure that his ground crew was ready to pick him up and drive him to the latest banging rave. Which, do we know of any member, on the line of succession down from the Queen, do we know of any who've ever voted? How far down the line of succession do we have to go to find a member of the royal family who has voted? Why do dogs enjoy it so much when they stick their heads out of car windows? And is there anything else? I think that's it, actually. And then the most recent one, which is the dollar bills question. 0345 6060973 is the number that you need. Paul is in Desborough. Paul, question or answer?
Question, please, James.
Carry on, Paul.
It's actually on behalf of my wife, who's fuming that I phoned before she got home in time. But she asked me the other night what AD means in the calendar. Yes. I told her I know Domini.
Correct.
She says, well, BC means before Christ, and that's an English term. Why is Anno Domini Latin? Why is one English? Why is one Latin?
It's a good question.
Wow, hear that, Leah. Good question.
No, I imagine that we didn't actually define before Christ until Latin had ceased to be the lingua franca, or certainly the language of the church. So post-Reformation, would BC have been a thing pre-Reformation? I'm not going to get a round of applause for this, Paul. I think everybody's pretty clear on that. Not. But I imagine that we only started, because it's not even called BC anymore, it's called BCE, isn't it? It's before Common Era, so that it doesn't become, there's no Christian monopoly upon the actual world's calendars.
But I've never heard that. But
I think the kids get taught BCE now. But that's why I think it is. I think by the time we actually bothered giving a name to the years before Christ was born, we were all, English was the dominant language not only in ecclesiastical circles but in the broader country at large. But I wouldn't accept that as an answer, and nor would Leah. So I shall stick it on the board, and we will wait and see, Paul. All right.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Why is BC in English? Well, AD is still Latin. 0345 6060973. Richard is in Leighton. Richard, question or answer?
Hi, James.
Hey, Richard.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, do you know when they do lineups in?
No. Why would you think I might know about that? What? No idea. What? You mean identity parades in police stations?
Yeah. Exactly.
No, mate. Nothing. No. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you trying to suggest?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So there we are.
So when they do lineups in, I guess, police stations, and because I saw it I was watching a TV show last night where they did one.
Yeah.
Where do they get the other people from? Because obviously they generally look similar, but are they actors? Do they just pick them out of a prison? Is it other people who have been arrested that day? I don't really know.
I don't know if they look that similar.
They're usually I don't know, if it's a white man, they pick a white man, or if it's a woman.
I read a lot of crime fiction, and I watch a lot of crime dramas, and I think they just sort of grab whoever they can find. So you're just looking for like you say, broadly similar on height and ethnicity, and maybe on some colouring, like hair colouring or facial hair and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure they drag people in off the street. They might use civilians from the from the police station, but I'm not going to take a round of applause for it. I'm going to wait till someone who has actually been involved in organising identity parades.
Or been in the lineup themselves.
It's like an anxiety dream, isn't it? When you think you're going to help out the local constabulary and then the bloke picks you, even though you know it wasn't you. It's one of those weird little nightmare-y scenarios. Okay. I like that question a lot. We shall find out, or I'm almost certain of it. Thank you. Richard, take care. 03456060973. We've got another Richard now. This one's in Cobham. I think I know what's coming. Richard, question or answer?
Hi, James. It's not really an answer. It's basically to add to the previous answer.
It's a steward's inquiry.
Experienced gentleman. No, not really. Just as an addition, maybe sort of a byline.
Yes.
I hope.
Good man.
So apparently, based upon what is now referred to as a phonetic alphabet, we use the word Romeo to represent the letter R.
Yes.
Whereas in the olden days, sort of 50 years or more ago, I believe, or so my father used to tell me, that it used to be Roger. Particularly in the US, and probably the US Air Force. So therefore, the word Roger really comes from the phonetic alphabet. So we might instead say Romeo these days rather than Roger, if that makes sense.
As in it's just R for right. I thought you were going to go further, because there is an acronym in place, which a few people have been in touch to tell me, but we can, and nobody's losing their round of applause for this, and I'm going to give you one as well. I'm certainly not rescinding the Ray Liotta. We'd have to go to the United Nations. We'd have to go to the United Nations, apparently, before we can actually start taking back Ray Liotta's. But it's received, order given, expect response, or words to that effect. Quite a few people have been in touch.
Sounds plausible.
It is plausible. I've checked, which I do occasionally reserve the right to do. Received, order given, expect results. But it might be a bit chicken and egg, so don't tell anybody this. But when LBC wasn't national, obviously it wasn't leading Britain's conversation. It was the London Broadcasting Company. So sometimes you don't know what came first, the initials or the acronym. But make sure you don't tell anybody that, Richard. All right?
Of course.
And here is your round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Lovely work. Qualifications? I should have asked first. What did you say? You said your dad was in World War II.
Yeah. He was a rear gunner in the RAF.
Top man. Thank you, Richard. 28 minutes after 12 is the time. Gemma is in the Bronx. There's a double American flavour to the programme today. Gemma, what would you like? Question or answer?
I'm answering the dollar bill question.
Why, thank you.
Unfortunately, blind people have to just trust people, and there is no way, and it sucks. And we've been trying to, there are people who are advocating to try and get some sort of change to that, but it's very hard to do.
Yes.
So I have a very good friend who's blind, and we've discussed this a lot, and he just has to trust people.
Good grief. Well, I think you've answered the next bit, but I usually ask what your qualifications are to answer the question that you've just answered, and there they are.
So, I work in the assistive technology industry, so I met him at a conference about 8 years ago, and through that I know the answer.
That's fantastic. Well, a stroke of luck. I know you listen a lot, I think, to Mystery Hour, but it's a particular stroke of luck that you were listening today.
Well, you gave my son a round of applause a couple of weeks ago.
I know, I know, but that doesn't mean there's a debt of honour there, Gemma. It's not like the mafia.
Well, he's been listening his whole life.
Oh, bless him. Bless his little cottons. There's a board game coming out soon. You'll have to pick one up when you're back in Blighty.
Totally. Amazon to deliver it.
Just in time for Christmas. We'll have to wait and see. We're probably going to go international. Round of applause for Gemma. Well, and how big before you go? How big a pain is it for your friend? I mean, do people get? Because that's awful when you think about it. That someone could say they've given you a 20 in their change and they've given you a 1.
It's awful. It's totally awful. He has to rely on other people in terms of independence. We want independence for people with all needs, and it affects his independence.
Well, if we were in America, we could start a campaign, but I don't know that we'd make much difference from over here. Thank you, Gemma. Regards to your son. 12:30 is the time. Thomas Watts has the headlines.
Mystery Hour on LBC with James O'Brien. Call 0345 6060 973.
12:34 is the time. You're listening to James O'Brien on LBC. Mike in the Wirral is next, and if he provides the answer that I think he's going to provide, please stop phoning in about identity parades. Please. We can't receive any other answers or questions if every single person in the United Kingdom is ringing LBC to answer the question about identity parades. No pressure on you, Mike, then. Question or answer?
It's an answer.
Carry on.
okay, for the identity parades, it's hard work. You have to go out in the street and find somebody of a similar age, height, colour, and bring them in to a police station or somewhere else where they're holding the parade. And they used to get paid a tenner for their service. It was always...
it's gone up. It's 15 quid now. Chris has been in touch from Redbridge. He says a few years ago, I was homeless and hanging around Liverpool Street Station. It might be Southern inflation, actually. It might be the London supplement, handing around Liverpool Street Station. 2 City of London police came up to me and said if I stood in a line-up, I'd get 15 quid, so I did.
Oh, really? I remember when it was 10 shillings.
No, you don't. How hard is it? I mean, presumably, I don't want to be politically incorrect, but the more noticeable somebody is, I mean, if you had a particularly tall person or a particularly short suspect, then it gets even harder than usual.
Oh, it does. And, of course, then you've got to persuade them to come in because they'll be hanging around for quite some time whilst you're getting the parade together. And then you can get a lawyer who says, I'm not having number 2 or number 6 because they don't look anything like him, so you have to go and get somebody else. So
the lawyer has the right of refusal.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, man, that is a nightmare. And I suppose it's not got any easier over the years, even though now the witness doesn't have to walk up and down the actual line. You do it from behind a screen or you do it from behind a glass partition.
Yeah, that's the way it's done. At one time, you're right in front of them and you called out the number. And I believe before that, you have to tap them on the shoulder. That must have been horrendous.
Imagine that. Holy moly, it's life on Mars. Isn't it? I think I know the next bit, Mike, but I'll ask you anyway. Qualifications?
Retired detective, Merseyside Police.
There you go. Round of applause for Mike, please. Great work. And as I said, please don't ring in with the ID parade question now. We have gone definitive. Definitive, we have gone. Jen's in Devizes. Jen, question or answer?
It's a question, James.
Carry on.
So I'm a gardener, and I turned up at a garden a few weeks ago, and the borders were covered in horse manure, which I wasn't nuts about it, but I kind of worked through it anyway.
Do you know, it's quite nice. It can be, well, I mean, it's not... I was in Hyde Park yesterday, and there were a few horses doing their business. It's not an unpleasant aroma. It's, doesn't float your boat.
Yeah.
Well, I can't argue with that, can I, technically?
My thought was, well, if this was human poo or dog poo, I would walk away.
Of course you would.
So I guess my question is it a plant-based diet that is the difference? Why am I kind of okay with poo,
gross,
but not with human dog?
So really you want to know if you could use a vegetarian's
I don't really want to
as fertiliser. Poor old Keith's Keith's trying to eat a sandwich, Jen.
I'm sorry.
Oh, man, is it a vegetarian sandwich, Keith? Oh, no, even worse. So it's a good... I think it might have something... No, because do we use... Yeah, we do use cow pats as fertiliser as well, don't we, as slurry?
Some farmers use human... I don't want to keep saying some do, but anyway, as a gardener, would a plant... But yeah, I like that question. I'm going to try and phrase it a little more euphemistically than you have done, if you don't mind. But sure. I don't know how. It's a challenge to which I will rise. I love that question. So if a mammal, any mammal consumed only a plant-based diet, would their excrement be as beneficial in a fertiliser type scenario as a horse's is or are? 0345 606 0973. What's in the sandwich, mate? What are you having? Is it? Bacon. 12.39. Owen's in Brecon. From Bacon to Brecon. Owen, question or answer?
Answer.
Carry on.
Dogs, why do they stick their head out the window?
Oh, yes.
It's not because the driver smells. It's as a result, basically, that
Go on.
The main sense of the dog is their smell.
Yeah.
And they've got things in the nose is called olfactory glands.
Yeah.
So when they stick their head out the window, it gives them a complete and utter overload. And they love it, and that's why they do it, and that's why they look so happy.
So it's like sneezing almost. No, let me rephrase that. It's like a sensation that is unique. I mean, and very hard to explain. Not that a dog ever could explain it, but they're getting so much smell coming up their nose that it's like fireworks going off in their doggy heads.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Qualifications?
Absolutely. I used to be a police officer, a dog handler, and part of that was I used to have to give evidence to courts on matters relating to dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And a magistrate once asked me why dogs do that, and I said, I haven't got a clue, so I went away and researched it, and that's what I came up with.
That is one of the best explanations for knowing an answer to a mystery hour question that we've ever had. I love that.
There you go.
Oh, have a round of applause. Nice work, Owen.
Thank you very much.
No,
Have
thank
a good
you.
day.
And you, sir. There you go. You wait ages for a copper to come along, a retired copper to come along, and then two come along at once. Gary's in Liverpool. Gary, question or answer?
It's a question, James, please.
Carry on, mate.
Why, when you have a lolly ice and you bite too much off, and you swallow it, why do we get brain freeze? Why does your head really give you a banging headache just for a few seconds?
It's an absolute killer, isn't it? It really is.
It doesn't have it, does it?
Oh, mate, it's a terrible thing. And you never learn either, do you?
No.
Never
you
learn.
don't.
You come back round next summer and you take the bite off your mivvy and the next thing you know, the back of your head's exploded.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know. I think we may have had this before, but it's a very seasonal question, Gary. I'm told the weather's going to be very hot this weekend. So we could give forewarned is forearmed.
Absolutely. But the brain freeze will laugh out, James.
Yeah, you're on. I'll find out if I get you a proper scientific explanation. Cheers, Gary. 12:41 is the time. Manure is the phrase we were looking for. You can say manure. You don't have to keep saying the P word. Sorry, whoever's just texting me, it's Darren. Manure in capital letters. Use the word manure in capital letters, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. I'm eating here. Sorry, Darren. All right. Simon's at Heathrow. Simon, question or answer?
I've got an answer for you.
Carry on, Simon.
It's for the Sky phones.
Roger.
So they've taken about, must have been mid-2000s, they were removed. They were too expensive to maintain. They've got, aircraft has 8 channels on the SATCOM system to use, and there's 300 people on board. So they sort of determined that it was quite disruptive for passengers sitting around listening.
Oh, yeah. So, it'd be like Dom Jolly.
It's a mix of a few things, really,
yes.
But it's mainly that it was too expensive to maintain from our end, from the airline end. It was disruptive to people trying to sit in the cabin listening to everyone else's phone conversations. And you can only have 6 or 7 people online at once. And
then also the Dom Jolly effect is that some yuppie behind you going, I'm on a plane! That would probably have been quite irritating as well. There's quite a lot going on. I hope Dom's listening. He usually is. I hope he sent me a picture of a road sign heading into Kidderminster last week when I mentioned Kidderminster on the programme. Qualifications, Simon?
I'm an aircraft engineer at one of the big airlines.
That'll do nicely. Have a round of applause on us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, very nicely played. 12:43. John's in Thetford. John, question or answer?
Yeah, I'm actually in Attleborough.
Are you? Well, one stop up from Wyndham.
Yeah, 7 miles from Wyndham,
I know.
actually, yeah.
You weren't expecting that Norwich knowledge, were you?
I do know you're familiar with Norfolk.
My fondness.
Especially North Norfolk.
Well, not just North Norfolk. I used to work in work down on near Tomblands, Magdalen Street.
Oh, right, yeah.
Used to live on Elm Hill, mate. I used to live in one of those little houses on Elm Hill that has tourists queuing up outside to take photographs of it. It's so lovely. I wish we'd bought it.
World, isn't it?
I wish we'd bought it instead of renting. They gave us a chance to buy it. I tell you what, we wouldn't have looked back. But anyway, that's not why you're here. John's in Attleborough, in Norfolk, 2 steps out from Norwich. Question or answer?
Yeah, what it is, there's an app that you can run on any bog standard iPhone because they all have built-in text-to-speech. And I totally lost my sight in the last 3 years. And I used it, because you don't really need it for English currency.
No.
But I used it on holiday to identify the different euro bills.
Did you? Oh, euros are the same. There's nothing on euros to know what denomination.
And then once I'd sorted out the money in the hotel room, I then put it into different sections, in my wallet, so I could then readily pull them out.
So Gemma's friend could do that if he doesn't already know about it. The app would really help him out. I've remembered what the film was, John. I don't know whether it's something you would have done before you discovered the app, but it's in Ray, the Ray Charles film, and he insists on being paid in single dollar bills by promoters that he doesn't trust because it's the only way he can be sure that he's getting paid the full amount.
Yeah, I was going to demonstrate it, of course, but in true tradition, the bloody thing's not working.
Well, it doesn't deprive you of your round of applause, John. Accept it with our confidence. Thank you. Of course, you could just take a picture of it, or use the camera on your phone, or use the app plus the app and it will tell you what the note is. That's one of my favourite answers actually in a long time because it was really bugging me the testimony that we got from Gemma in the Bronx. The time now is 12:45.
Mystery Hour on LBC with James O'Brien.
12:48 already. I've got 4 that still need answers according to my calculations. Why is BC in English, whereas AD is in Latin? If you Okay, I've found a way of doing this euphemistically. I hope you're still listening, Jen. If you pursued a plant-based diet, would you be able to produce your own manure? Yeah? Yeah, thank you. What causes brain freeze when you're having a lolly? A lolly ice, as they're called in Liverpool, or as an ice lolly, as they're called in Kidderminster? And are any members of the royal family allowed to vote? Are we aware of any member? How far down the line of succession do you have to go before you find a royal who voted? Matt's in Rotherham. Question or answer, Matt?
Question, please, James.
Carry on, mate.
So I was watching the football last week. We missed the goal. The camera zoomed into the crowd, and every single fan put one hand to each side of his head.
Yes.
Why do we do that?
Well, not over his eyes?
No, to the side of your head.
Oh.
Is it instinctive, or is it learned behaviour? And it's the same when you just remember you've left the gas on. Exactly the same thing. Why do we do that?
What do we do when we've left the... Oh, you mean when you realise it's sort of... Well, it's an expression of shock, isn't it? That's what you're... Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
You're looking for an evolutionary... You're looking for an evil... Yes, why not stand on one leg? I like the way your mind works. It's very similar to mine, actually. I usually use star jumps as an example at this point in proceedings. It'd be a bit weird if we all did a star jump every time we missed a goal, wouldn't it? But so he's trying to think... Usually there is an evolutionary explanation, like yawning triggering other yawnings because it means it's safe behind you or whatever it might be. So why do that sort of almost that Macaulay Culkin type thing after he's used his dad's aftershave? And we know why he does it, but why do we do it when we're shocked or scared, really? That's a great question. What time is it? 12:50. We've got time to get you an answer, Matt. We will do our best. We will do our best. 0345 6060 973. Thank you, Matt. Mark's in Cumbria. I can warn you in advance that there's some clever stuff coming our way if Mark in Cumbria is on the line. Mark, question or answer?
Yeah, answer about AD and BC.
There we go.
Now, I confess I don't remember all the fine detail of this, but AD seems to have started in the 6th century after the Roman Empire in the West had really been wound up. And the main centre was in Constantinople, and there was an idea that there should be a dating system which reflected current beliefs, that is to say, in Christianity.
Yes.
The earlier systems were all irrelevant, and in fact one had been set up by the Emperor Diocletian, who persecuted Christians, so they didn't want that. So they started using the term in the year of our Lord then. But a lot of countries didn't run with that. And, for example, in French, they use après Jesus Christ, after Jesus.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They don't normally use that Anno Domini. So English is unusual in sticking with that. Around the same time, they started saying ante Christum in Latin, before Jesus, before Christ.
Right.
And that normally has stuck. But again, each country has put it into their own language. So we say before Christ. In German, it's vor Christum, before Christ. So English, the odd one out is English AD.
Yeah, so we hung on to the Latin for the AD bit, and other countries didn't. And would AC have been there from the start, and it just morphed into BC?
And ante Christum, I think, was developed about the same time, maybe a touch earlier.
Do we know when we started adopting the English, the anglicised version?
We would have started using it officially as English came to be the main written language, which wasn't till the Middle Ages, of course.
No.
But so once people started putting it into English, there would be a tendency to put BC, because that would make sense in terms of English.
And I guess, if you're looking for reasons why we did one and not the other, AD, or even Anno Domini, is shorter and easier to understand than the year of our Lord, whereas BC and AC are interchangeable.
It's an abbreviation of the Latin, and at first it wouldn't have been recognised itself, but it's an abbreviation. But why that particular one stuck in English, I don't know if it's explained.
Would that be the Merovingians, then, would it, in 7th century Constantinople, or would it be a bit before their time?
Before, it would be mainly during the reign of the Emperor Justinian and his wife Theodora, and they were very big in innovating.
Fantastic. I love listening to you. I could listen to you all day.
I suspect that they were the main movers. I don't remember the name of the scholar, though.
Oh, well, I think we can let you off on this occasion, Mark. Qualifications?
former ancient historian among many.
You can't be a former ancient historian, can you? You're still an ancient historian.
Ongoing amateur ancient historian.
Love it. I do enjoy your calls. Thank you so much. Once again, you must be getting quite a collection of these now. Thank you.
Oh, yes. It's building up. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Mark. 12:54 is the time. Joe's in Plymouth. Joe, question or answer?
It is an answer.
Carry on, Joe.
It's to do with brain freeze.
Oh, yes.
So basically it comes down to the blood flow to your brain. And your blood flow to your brain runs through the roof of your mouth. So if you eat something really cold and keep it in your mouth for a long enough amount of time, the blood actually gets cooled into your brain, giving you that sort of
Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, it's like the pipes in the house, really.
Exactly.
And you don't have to keep it there for very long. That's the point, isn't it? Is it if you take a bite out of it, it's hard against the roof of your mouth. You're going to have frozen enough blood or chilled enough blood for it to hit the back of your brain like a freight train.
Exactly, and it's horrible.
It's absolutely awful. Qualifications?
It's in a brilliant book by Bill Bryson called The Body, A Useful Guide for Users.
And does that contain the antidote?
I don't think so. I think he said you hold your tongue to the roof of your mouth afterwards.
Yeah, not the roof of your mouth, the soft palate behind the roof of your mouth. I can't come on the radio. It's the worst thing you could ever try to do on the radio. So you get your tongue right to the soft bit behind the roof of the mouth. You put your tongue there and apparently it will dissipate immediately. Don't look at me like that, Sheila.
Warm the pipes back up.
No, yes, exactly. Warm the pipes back up. I'm doing science, Sheila. Do you mind?
That's all right.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for Joe.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you
Nick and Gavin next door.
Hey, and just to clarify, you're allowed to have looked stuff. You can know stuff from a book, but Joe clearly didn't go and get it out of the book just this minute. He already knew it. So even if you read the book yesterday, that's still a valid qualification. What you're not allowed to do is go, I've got a book upstairs called Brain Freeze. All you need to know about brain freeze. I'll go and check and then come downstairs. Why am I going to go upstairs and downstairs? You've got mobile phones. Anyway, you take my point. Professor Hal is here. Glorious Mystery Hour return. Professor Hal, question or answer?
It's an answer, and we're sort of finishing where we started on the subject of poo.
Manure.
Thank
you.
Okay. So we need to use fertiliser to put nitrogen back into the soil, because the one thing we can't store is nitrogen. We can use it in mussels and so forth, but we can't store it. And we are programmed to avoid our own manure and our own vomit and our own wee because it's septic. So we try and use manure 2 or 3 species away from us. So vegetarian manure is more acceptable than, for example, an omnivore's manure. So pig manure isn't very nice.
Sure.
So ultimately you can use both. And in North Korea and China, they do use human manure. And there's actually a market for human manure in North Korea because they just can't get enough of it. The downside is you can get contamination from things like tapeworms, and you often do. So you can do, but shouldn't if you can't, if you don't need to.
My tummy's turning over now. Qualifications?
I'm delighted to be the Professor of Public Understanding of Science at the University of Brighton.
Boom. And he's back in the game. Professor Hal, thank you very much indeed. Gross. I almost wish Jen had never asked that question, but she did, and now she knows. Be careful what you wish for. Rod's in Cheltenham. Rod, question or answer?
Answer.
Carry on.
I have a different answer for the brain freeze question.
Oh, my God, it's a steward's inquiry.
Yes.
Carry on.
This is going to be quite... all right, so, here's the answer. My best friend is a neuroscientist. He's a doctor.
Yes.
And I once asked him this question, and it is because when you have something really cold against the roof of your mouth, the blood capillaries constrict. So as a response, the body tries to save the brain from freezing, so it opens up the capillaries, letting a lot of blood flow through up to the brain, and that's what causes brain freeze.
I get it. So he was on the right lines. He might have slightly misremembered what was in the book, or Bill Bryson himself may have got it wrong. Qualifications? Oh, my mate's a neuroscientist.
Yep.
That'll do. Round of applause. Great work.
Cheers.
Cheers to you too. I think we're done. Alan is in New Malden. Alan, question or answer?
Answer.
Carry on.
And it's about the royal voting thingamajig.
Yes.
Anybody who sits in the House of Lords or is entitled to sit in the House of Lords is not entitled to vote at a parliamentary election.
Is that right? That's not an answer. That's an interesting nugget of knowledge, but it's not an answer to the question, is it?
I know it's not answered, and so I can't answer the question itself, but I know that if the Queen's siblings, they all have dukedoms or earldoms or whatever. I would assume they are entitled to sit in the House of Lords. And on the electoral register, there will be a L against their name if they've registered to vote.
Is that right?
They can vote in local elections or in referenda, but they can't vote for parliamentary elections. They can't vote for somebody in the House of Commons, in other words.
Well. Qualifications?
I used to be a presiding officer at several elections since 1972.
Well, I'm going to give you a round of applause, even though you haven't actually answered the question that we asked. You have added to the sum total of human knowledge, Alan.
Thanks.
Cheers. What better way to spend first day lunchtime than adding to the sum total of human knowledge? Speaking of which, I should tell you that I think, looking at this, and I've got no reason to doubt it, that the tweet from Jonathan Ashworth I shared with you earlier about there being no PCR tests available, walk-in PCR tests available anywhere in the country pretty much appears now to have been reversed. So I've been sent pictures of the current state of affair, and there seems to be much higher. In fact, universal availability now. So if you think you need one, go and get one. That's it from me for another day. Here's Sheila Fogarty.